webinar has been put together to illustrate how Reactec's RASOR device can be used in conjunction with the HAVWEAR monitor to be able to advise tool operators on the best or the safest way in which their tools can be used. This is part of a series of webinars that have been developed by Reactec to look at the topic of hand-arm vibration, including some of the reason why hand-arm vibration syndrome is an ongoing issue in terms of people working within the UK. Within those webinars, you will see further details on the topics which are covered here, but what we're going to focus on is in particular the number 4 here of operator competency, but it does also come into play in terms of number 5 on tool selection and condition, etc., in terms of the way in which they can affect the actual exposure levels a person experiences while they go about their task, and how that might differ from what you had assumed in your risk assessments for their activity. Before going into the topic in a little bit more depth, there's a few examples that we would like to illustrate the variability that comes from the use of tools in terms of the level of vibration that they will emit and therefore that a person exposes while they're using that tool. Now the first example here comes from a work study of a specific task with a leading utilities company, whereby an excavation was undertaken of a specific size in a specific type of road, but a number of different teams were used to be able to determine what a typical risk would be from that activity. So based on doing this several times over with different groups of people, it essentially was established what the typical or average vibration magnitude for the exercise was, which was around about 12 meters per second squared. Now that varied quite significantly from the manufacturer's declared value for that particular tool used in the exercise. And based on the average time for the various excavations, the duty holder was then able to establish that for the task, if 2 people were involved in the task, then they would experience a risk of 139 exposure points. But if 3 people were used in the task, they could keep that to under 100 points. In precise numbers, it was 93 points. So that's what came about from looking at it as a task and taking the average for the task of both the time and the vibration magnitude during the task. If we then look at it from the specific individuals, and for all of the people used in this work study, we then looked at, for them as an individual, what was the maximum exposure that they received in digging any one hole. And what you see from this graphic is a very wide range of the reality of the exposure versus what was expected from the risk assessment. So the 2 black bars are the expected exposure, depending on whether it were 2 or 3 people sharing the task. The reality of the coloured bars are what each individual. So a few individuals very much under what was assessed. Some did fall in between the gap between the 2 assessments. A number of individuals exceeded, and one in particular exceeded it quite significantly, that we have identified by the name Pete. Now, when you look at the videos of the technique used by the individual for digging that particular hole, 2 things were apparent. He didn't evenly work share with his colleague, although he did share the workload of the excavation. And his technique was such that the energy emitted by the tool was not all being transferred down into the road surface. So he actually had the tool pointed at an angle, which meant that some of the energy was actually coming into his body more than you would desire. And as a consequence of that, it was taking him longer to break the surface. So he was exposing himself to a greater amount of time to do the task, also a lot higher level of vibration was coming into his body as a consequence of him using a weak technique. The HSE are also very clear in their guidance in terms of how there is a range of vibration magnitude that's possible from any particular tool, as is evidenced in this particular graphic. So you can see an impact till drill, the HSE through their real use measurements have experienced drills being able, the same drill being able to be used in a manner that emits anything from 5 to up to 16 meters per second squared, or a chipping hammer going anything from 10 to 26 meters per second squared. And the HSE again emphasise or advise that the operator's technique in itself can bring a huge bearing into the vibration magnitude that they then experience while doing work. Before going on to illustrate how the RASOR device works in conjunction with HAVWEAR to help training operators in use of the tool, as a reminder, HAVWEAR as a monitor of hand-arm vibration has two distinct ways of giving you hand-arm vibration exposure data, and it gives you both sets of data available for you to analyse either separately or together. The first set of data, which we refer to as tool exposure points, is based on taking a vibration magnitude level which you program into an RFID tool tag, which is then attached to the tool. And then we calculate exposure points based on the time of using the tool with that predefined vibration magnitude that is in the tool tag. At the same time, in the background, based on triaxial accelerometers within the device, we measure a vibration magnitude at the wrist and then use compensation algorithms to give an approximation for the vibration magnitude at the grip point of the tool. So this gives you a vibration magnitude which is a very close approximation to the vibration magnitude being experienced during real tool use at the grip point of the tool. And it's therefore giving you it in real time. Now again, if we combine that vibration magnitude with the time of using the tool, then that is a quantification of exposure, and we refer to that as SEP, or the sensed exposure points. And finally, one example of real data from within the Reactec analytics to show you the way in which the difference of an operator's use of a tool can seriously impact the level of exposure that they're being exposed to. So this is an example taken from the use of a palm sander, and it's on a vehicle surface. And one particular individual was found after being monitored for 18 days to have a vibration exposure average each day of around about 25, based on the assumed vibration magnitude from the duty holder, but a significantly higher exposure level of an average of 144 points per day, based on the sensed vibration of real use picked up by the HAVWEAR device. If we looked at that particular individual's use of tools across those days of monitoring, we found that one tool in particular, an air palm sander, dominated all of his daily exposure. In total, with that particular palm sander, over the days of monitoring, he was shown to have 302 points versus 2,465, and that was, which gave that daily average of 25 versus 144. And this tool represented 95% of his overall exposure over all the other tools that he used in his working day. So obviously, if we could address this issue of why his vibration magnitude was so particularly high with this tool, we would massively impact his overall risk. And when we looked at his use of this particular tool relative to a number of colleagues using the same tool, we could see that he uses this tool longer than others, but also that his usage in terms of his vibration magnitude is significantly higher than his colleagues. Now, an orbital sander, the HSE would suggest could range from 4 to 12 meters per second squared, very much dependent upon the applied force, and lower vibration magnitudes can be achieved with the correct forces, but also the appropriate use of abrasives. So if this behaviour could be seen in real time, then the potential to basically massively improve that person's risk is potentially therefore available. So using the RASOR device to help with training people on best use of the tool. First of all, the RASOR device is a handheld product which has Bluetooth technology which allows it to take data directly from a HAVWEAR device which is within close proximity. It can actually be up to 40 meters away, but for the purpose of training you would be basically standing close to the person who's using the device. In the following video, we've rather contrived a situation by having the RASOR device very close to the HAVWEAR. That's really just for the purpose of illustration. It's not necessary to be that close. But basically, the RASOR device is able to pick up the data from the HAVWEAR, and the HAVWEAR is transmitting live information about the vibration magnitude. First of all, the vibration magnitude that it has according to the last time that it read a tool tag, and also the vibration magnitude that it's picking up in real time. So to access the training app, first of all, you go into the HAV main menu from your home page on the RASOR device. You will then see an option of choosing data, train, or to go back to the home page. Data simply means that you will see the data of all the HAVWEAR which are within proximity and what the exposure points is of the person who you are seeing the data for. And this will allow you to check that you're looking at the right person. If instead what you're wanting to do is to use what we call the training aid, then you scroll to training, select training, and it brings you into a menu as shown to basically understand, are you looking at the right person? So you'll have the person's information, you'll also have information on the last tool tag that the person connected to, and based on that tool information, that will be what gives you the information in terms of the tag vibration information. So if you then use the left-hand button to select the train screen, you will then see a visual here which shows you the tag value. Now this will be a fixed number. It's based on the vibration magnitude that's been programmed into the tool tag. So if the tool tag were programmed with 5 meters per second squared, you would see a value of 50 points per hour. So it shows you the exposure rate based on the vibration magnitude, which we believe is an easier way to interpret it than vibration magnitude. And then you see the sensed information based on the real vibration magnitude as determined by the HAVWEAR while the tool is being used. So as you stand watching the tool being used, the sense number will vary depending on the vibration magnitude that's actually being experienced, whereas the tag number will be fixed. You can also use this mode without a tag having been used, in which case there would be no tool information, and the tag information here in terms of points per hour would be blank. Also, there's a traffic light display to basically show you the extent to which you're above or below the tag value. And this display wouldn't be available if no tag has been used, but the sensed vibration points per hour is always available for you to see. So it isn't essential for there to be a tag read. but it's a good reference point if you have a basis of what you think the vibration magnitude for the tool will be. You'll then be able to see is the particular use of the tool more or less than what you expect from the tag. But all times the magnitude value for sensed will give you the indication of is the particular way in which they're now using tool better or worse than how they were previously using it, by basically how that number varies. Now I'm about to play a video of the RASOR training aid being used in real use. Now it's a somewhat contrived example in that we have a tool which has been set for a hammer mode. The tag value is at a level which is less than the hammer mode, and we're going to deliberately cause the vibration to go into the hammer action, or the tool to go into the hammer action and give off the vibration level appropriate for the hammer action, and you'll see it therefore go above the tag value. And what I'll ask you to do is listen to the sound levels while the drill is in use. And when the hammer mode comes into play, you can hear it, a definite increase in the level. Now what you will see is a delay in the reaction of the screen to the increased vibration level, which is basically the delay to do all the computational mathematics from the vibrations being sensed to change the displays in the device. So it's a small delay, but it's a noticeable delay. But you can tell the different vibration levels that the individual is experienced based on the sound levels that you're hearing from the device. And I'll try and also explain it as you see it coming into play. So if we'll just get the screen up for playing the video. So to begin with, the vibration level is low. And you'll see the points are under the tag value. You now see it kicking into a higher level of vibration, and even higher still. You can hear the high pitch of the drill. And now you freeze back off again. And again pushing hard. And with that pushing hard, you see the really high points coming off from the drill. And again, it's then settling down as he eases the pressure. So hopefully that made it clear. When using the tool in real life, it's all about letting things steady, letting the person use the tool the way they would normally, having a look at the points, asking them perhaps to ease off on the pressure that they're applying to the tool, ask them to look at their grip force, and also their angle of approach in using the tool. And all of these things will reflect differently in the points that you see on the screen. Make sure that you give enough time for it all to settle after that few seconds of delay, which I think we illustrated in this example. So I hope this short webinar has been useful in illustrating how Reactec's technology can be used to help you gain a real-time and close insight into the variability that's possible in tools vibration, and how the RASOR device with its training aid can help you first-hand train individuals on how to use that tool most effectively. More information is available from Reactec on all of the variables that come into play in terms of managing exposure to hand-arm vibration. A lot of it illustrated by real-life examples from our data sets. So please contact Reactec if there's further information that you would like to have on these topics.